Thank you for taking time for a presentation about St. Edmund and the religious congregation that bears his name. St. Edmund was not the founder of the Edmundite Fathers and Brothers. He was born in Abingdon, England, around 1175, and he died in 1240. The Society of St. Edmund was founded in Pontigny, France, in 1843. Some 600 years after Edmund's death. A statue in the Cistercian Abbey in Pontigny, where the Edmundites were founded, depicts a bishop, a Benedictine nun, a Dominican friar, a Cistercian monk, and 2 Cistercian lay brothers praying to the Blessed Virgin Mary. While we take colleges and universities for granted today, they were very much in their infancy in Edmund's time. The University of Paris and Oxford University are among the world's oldest universities. St. Edmund taught at both institutions. St. Edmund taught mathematics and dialectics. Edmund's mother urged him to teach the symbol for the Trinity rather than geometric symbols. With so much opinion and so much fake news today, our contemporary world could certainly benefit from a course or 2 in dialectics, which is the art of probing and ascertaining the truth. In 1222, Edmund was appointed treasurer of the cathedral in Salisbury. It is regarded as one of the leading examples of early English architecture. Its main body was completed in 38 years, from 1220 to 1258. The cathedral has the tallest church spire in the United Kingdom, contains a clock, which is among the oldest working examples in the world, and has the best surviving of 4 original copies of the Magna Carta. Edmund preached the Sixth Crusade, which started in 1228 as an attempt to regain Jerusalem. The Sixth Crusade involved very little actual fighting. The diplomatic efforts of the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II resulted in some control over Jerusalem and some other areas of the Holy Land. Pope Gregory IX named Edmund the Archbishop of Canterbury in 1234. For more than 1,400 years, the Archbishop of Canterbury has served as the senior bishop and principal leader of the Church in England. The first Archbishop of Canterbury was St. Augustine, who Pope Gregory the Great sent from Rome in the year 597 as the apostle to the English. Edmund wrote a work entitled The Mere that describes one's spiritual quest for perfection. In The Mere, he underscored to be holy, we must know the truth and love goodness. These require self-knowledge and love of neighbor, which are aided by prayer and by meditation. Valerie Wellmunster beautifully illuminated one of St. Edmund's prayer as an instructor of sacred art at Ender's Island. The prayer, which can serve as a daily morning offering, was part of a reliquary shrine housing St. Edmund's arm in the original chapel at St. Michael's College. St. Edmund is known by several names. He's St. Edmund of Abingdon because he was born in Abingdon. He's St. Edmund of Canterbury because he served there as Archbishop. But this English saint is also known in France as St. Edmund of Pontigny, because Pontigny is where he was finally laid to rest. St. Edmund loved to stay at the Cistercian Abbey in Pontigny when he made his way from England to St. Peter's in Rome to meet with Pope Gregory IX. During what would be his final journey to Rome, Edmund fell seriously ill and died. Before dying, he indicated his desire to be buried at the Pontigny Abbey rather than at the cathedral in Canterbury. His body is entombed above the main altar. The Pontigny Abbey, which was founded in 1114, was suppressed in 1791. Except for the church, most of the abbey was destroyed as a result of the French Revolution. In 1843, the abandoned and ruined Cistercian Abbey became the site for a new religious congregation, which eventually would be known as the Society of St. Edmund. The Society of St. Edmund was founded to stem the prevalent secularization which had developed as a result of Gallicanism, Jansenism, Republicanism, and the Enlightenment. The laity was almost totally alienated from the church. In the last analysis, neither the clergy nor the laity knew to whom they owed allegiance, and the Catholic Church in France lay in shambles. In order to bring the message of the gospel to the people of the Yonne, a region which had been particularly secularized, Father Jean-Baptiste Mouard pleaded with his bishop to give him the ruined abbey of Pontigny, from which a missionary band might go about re-evangelizing the region. The challenges today reinforce the ongoing need for a religious congregation to evangelize. The number of Americans who claim no religious affiliation is rapidly increasing. We are moving from a nation that once prided itself on having freedom of religion to a nation that advances freedom from religion. Father Mouard's idea was quite simple. His priests would serve as auxiliaries who would augment the efforts of diocesan clergy. Mouard's auxiliary priests would work for the glory of God and the salvation of neighbor through preaching, teaching, witnessing, and serving in ways that reflected the love of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The community was first known as the Oblates of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Mouard placed priority on those most alienated from God and society. They were the needy, the poor, the ignorant, the sinner. In short, they were those most separated from God's love, those who most needed to hear the good news of the gospel. Mouard wanted the four marks of the church, which we profess each Sunday in the Nicene Creed, to be the core elements of the new community. Be one, be holy, be Catholic, be apostolic. Strive for unity and strive for perfection. Don't just talk the walk, as we say today. Let people see that you walk the talk. Let people see that Catholic means universal. Don't be parochial in your thinking or rigid. Be welcoming, hospitable, and adaptive. God wanted Mouard's band of auxiliaries to grow and to serve beyond the diocese in which Pontigny was located. An early member became the bishop in the diocese where Mont Saint-Michel is located, and he wanted Mouard's men to serve there. Serving the church in multiple dioceses led to the community receiving pontifical recognition, and this recognition would save it from going out of existence. Not only did the Oblates take on more sites, Mouard decided to establish another, more contemplative religious congregation. The second religious congregation was founded at Pierre Clavier. Like the apostolic community of the Society of St. Edmund, that more monastic order continues to exist. Today, Pierre Clavier community is somewhat larger than the Edmundite community. In 1854, two religious congregations mourned the death of Father Jean-Baptiste Mouard. Because of his remarkable and saintly life, efforts began long ago to recognize him as a saint. He currently is recognized as worthy of the title Venerable. Edmundites speak of Father Pierre Boyer as a co-founder because the mantle of leadership fell on his shoulders for the first 40 years of the community's history. Father Boyer oversaw efforts that revitalized the faith through parish missions and pilgrimages and the training and education of students and future apostles. France adopted laws that confiscated religious property and forced religious orders to disband. Edmundites once taught at Château-Grancière. The stained glass window there shows St. Michael the Archangel and the Latin words Quis ut Deus, who is like God, which reflect what Michael's name means. Jesus teaches elders on the left, and Jesus teaches children on the right. Below Michael the Archangel is Father Armand Preval giving communion to a youth. Father Preval became the first president of St. Michael's College. Fleeing France to survive, French-speaking Edmundites went to French-speaking Quebec. Soon, the bishop in Burlington, Vermont, who was a native of France, invited Edmundites to come to his diocese. Bishop Michaud knew that Edmundites had been successful and effective teachers in France, so he naturally saw them as the answer to his prayers for starting a Catholic college. Conducting parish missions throughout New England naturally helped to recruit students for this new Catholic college in Vermont. As Pontigny Abbey had served as a place for pilgrims, so St. Anne's Shrine on Lake Champlain became an attractive setting for Catholics to renew their faith and express their devotion. Until recent years, the shrine was open only from May through early October. Today, St. Anne's Shrine continues to offer its traditional programs during the summer months. With the building of retreat and workshop facilities, the shrine, however, is now able to offer year-round programs. The shrine serves as a great place for students from St. Michael's College to gather for retreats and conferences. Social justice issues were a growing concern in the early 1900s. Child labor, oppressive working conditions, and effective hardship faced many. As a result, the Edmundites became involved with social justice and the plight of workers in Vermont's woolen mills. Edmundite concern for the poor and the needy disposed them to undertake Cheyenne Indian missions in Montana. The demands in the 1920s were so great that many members of the Society of St. Edmund voted to disband the community. But God had other plans for the struggling community. Edmundites serving at St. Michael's College opposed disbanding, and with the support of the bishop were allowed to continue. The community not only survived, but also grew so significantly that it opened the Edmundite missions in 1937 and acquired Enders Island in 1954 as a training site for new members. As it continued to be blessed with new vocations, the community opened the Caracas missions in 1964. The Edmundite missions started with 2 Edmundites, a second-hand car, and $50. Father Francis Casey and Father John Perro realized very early on that more than preaching and teaching would be needed. Although resources were very limited, Father Casey and Father Perro did the best they could with what little they had to serve the neediest. They knew what the words of James' epistle required and went about addressing those basic human needs, as well as providing the sacraments. Providing the corporal works of mercy is the mainstay of services rendered by the Edmundite missions. Its nutrition center, for example, feeds over 1,000 persons each and every day. Imagine what it takes to feed that many people 365 days a year. And feeding the hungry is only one facet of the outreach of the Edmundite missions. The Edmundite missions have sometimes met with strong opposition, sometimes even hatred, in efforts to drive them out. But the Edmundite presence has persisted for more than 80 years. St. Michael's College celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2004. Becoming co-ed in the 70s, the college has provided a quality Catholic liberal arts education. Graduates of St. Michael's respect others, seek the truth, promote a moral life, commit to service, and foster community. Elder George Bush recognized the college's move or mobilization of volunteer efforts as one of the nation's 1,000 points of light during his presidency. In 1965, a new chapel was consecrated on the campus of St. Michael's College to underscore the central place that faith should play at a Catholic institution. The chapel's artwork is noteworthy. Jesus' skin tone is such that any race can look at him and see their own race. Racism has been a persistent problem. In 1965, Bloody Sunday occurred in Selma, Alabama. The entire student body of St. Michael's College filled the newly completed chapel to hear Edmundite Father Morris Willett describe the brutal events in Selma. Standing in the sanctuary beneath the figure of Jesus on the cross, Willett delivered what came to be known as his uncomfortable Christ talk, in which he described those beaten, scarred externally and internally by the fists of hatred, those filled with frustration from despair, those jeered at, bruised, gassed, and in pain. Willett's words touched hearts in the students who volunteered to go to Elizabeth City, North Carolina, to tutor black youths who were members of the Black Edmundite parish there. The experience changed not only the SMC students, but also the Elizabeth City youth. As racial riots and unrest plagued the nation in the 60s and 70s, the words of Martin Luther King Jr. had special meaning for those involved with the North Carolina project. People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Black Edmundite Father James Robinson, who was pastor in Elizabeth City, and Black Edmundite Father Moses Anderson, who was dean at St. Michael's College, formulated the tutorial project. Both were natives of Selma, and both knew the value of education and mentoring. When Moses became an auxiliary bishop, he took as his motto, unity in diversity. The Society of St. Edmund acquired Enders Island in 1954 as a place for initial formation of its members and a place for retreats. In keeping with Father Moulard's concern that Edmundites extend hospitality, visitors have been welcome from the very start. In the late 1960s, Edmundite novices walked the black neighborhoods of New London, Connecticut, to get to know better the struggle and needs facing the folks there. Enders Island was a truly beautiful property in 1954, as this photograph clearly reveals. The wooden causeway, seawall, main house, formal gardens, greenhouse, barn, and hurricane-battered seaside tea house can be seen. Today, Enders Island has been enhanced with additional improved facilities. The seaside tea house became a shrine. The greenhouse gave way to the Assumption Chapel. The barn became Angel Hall. Open fields became sites to build St. Michael's Hall and Father Joe Waite's Place. 3 words capture the mission of St. Edmund's Retreat: retreat, create, and recover. Enders Island provides the setting for a retreat center, an institute of sacred art, and a recovery program. Enders Island initially served as St. Edmund's Novitiate, where those seeking to become professed members of the society received their initial training. In 1966, the island began providing a peaceful and serene setting for AA meetings and 11-step retreats as a result of Father Joseph Waite's quest for sobriety. Father Joe also served as director of novices for the current director of St. Edmund's Retreat. In 1995, the island began its Sacred Arts Institute, which studies and teaches artistic expressions, that promotes, creates, and preserves holy images that foster prayer, reflection, and devotion. And in 2006, the island initiated its recovery program, which is built on the spiritual principles of the 12 steps and designed to enable residents to succeed by developing their gifts and talents to their fullest potential. For over 50 years, beginning in 1964, the Society of St. Edmund labored in Caracas, Venezuela. Over those years, the well-off members of the Edmundite parish in Prados del Este assisted the poor and the needy members of the Edmundite parish in the nearby barrio of Las Minas. For over 175 years, Edmundites have gone where God needed them to be. Even in retirement, Edmundites continue to serve God's people. This is certainly the case with this member of the Society of St. Edmund. He served most of his priesthood in Caracas, Venezuela. To understand better the mission of the Edmundites, it helps to reflect upon the opening sentence of the Vatican II document, The Church in the Modern World, which says, "The joys and the hopes, the sorrows and the anxieties of this age, especially those who are poor or in any way afflicted, these are the joys and hopes, the sorrows and anxieties of the followers of Christ." Pope Paul VI underscored how best to engage those who seek to evangelize and to serve. We must not only see life through their eyes, but also use their language, their signs, their symbols. The Holy Father taught effective evangelization must answer the questions they ask and the concerns they have. The Elizabeth City Project and the mobilization of volunteer efforts showed the value and the importance of engaging others, non-members, as full partners in ministry. In 1992, Father Steve Hornet started an Edmundite Missions Corps to serve the poor and the needy in Selma, Alabama, and New Orleans, Louisiana. The Edmundite Missions Corps enabled the society to open a nativity model school in New Orleans. Bishop Perry Middle School provided the foundation for Black young men to succeed. Tyrone Walker was among its graduates. During his first week at predominantly white St. Michael's College, his classmates elected him president of their class. By his senior year, the entire student body elected him to be president of the Student Association. Today, Tyrone Walker is a young Black leader in Louisiana. The Edmundite Missions continues to respond to needs. The Edmundite Center of Hope opened in 2010, and the Edmundite Community Center opened in 2020. These are challenging days for the youth of our world and our nation. Some argue that the young are tuning out. Others, however, see a quite different scenario. They believe the young feel left out. Father Muard started the society to address those who felt alienated from God, the church, and society. That task is ongoing, and it is perhaps more needed today than it was in 1843. The Edmundite mission underscores 4 important points. You are an integral part of the church and her mission. Your participation is vital to the church and her mission. Your gifts and your talents are needed to build that mission. You are called, as St. Paul would say, from being a stranger and an alien to being a full partner. We welcome your comments, your questions, and of course, we hope there'll be a discussion.